Namani. Oh, now peoples, we're on the lands of the Kaurna people and we say Namani to say hello to you, and your response would be Mani ai back. So, Namani?
Mani ai.
Good. But what you really said is you're all fat, and fat meant goodness, and it was in reference to an animal, and when we think about it, very important to our life and sharing this wonderful land. So I'll call upon the spirit people of our ancestors to bring us good blessings here to this place. Tuila Maniputnik! Tuila Wakanapadnik! So nai Kaurna Biako Maklankla Marawachanga Kaurna Mina. Minyana na mani puraji nai nari kamatpi marriage. Nai wangadi mani the budni Kaurna yatana iridi yata madlanga yata bolti kawi pawa poti. So welcome to the lands of the Kaurna people, and today we're obviously bordered by the ocean, being the place being on the point, being Madlunga, being the nose of this place. A place where we would say also Gardiyata being the land of the emu, but it was a special place when we came to this point here today. We're also bordered by the river, being Yatabolti being the place of sleep, which is really an interesting place when we understand country. I'm known as the Impatient One. I am a descendant of the Kaurna and also of the Wurrunga people of the Yorke Peninsula. My father is Yella Burka, the old man of the sea, and my mother is Pauline Nee Sansbury, a Narunga elder. But when we come to places, we say you are the important people. And today we got people coming to us through the Mukundu, being the internet, or as we would say, the lightning brain, being the computer. And so when we come to places, we believe that our face tells us where we've been and our heart tells us where to go. What does that mean? Well, we collect knowledge and wisdom in our muka being our brain, but it is with our kulta being our heart that we must use it for good. And our people understood Yara, meaning reciprocity, mutual benefit, two-ness, about needs, not wants, about understanding that we're not only born of the biological or the emotional or spiritual, but we have this responsibility to contribute to the whole, that we must know the things that we need to know in our responsibility to be a part of this concept of community. But we also know that we can actually accept difference. We can accept also the mysteries of life. And that when we know these things, we have this aspect of giving, receiving, and therefore becoming one. Our people live between the sea and the hills here in the Adelaide Plains. And as such, they each had responsibilities. And as I heard Tony before talking about country wasn't just land, it was waters and the skies and all those things that live upon it. But we had a special way of understanding our responsibilities, and that was through totems. We had totems to symbolise not only the importance of looking after the plants, the animals, the land, or the skies, and therefore in that responsibility we would care for this place. We had a hierarchy system that said land was first and waters and skies, and then it was plants, animals, and then human. When we look at that, if everything we look after in before us means everything falls into place, and therefore we have the ability to be upon this land forever. And that was the concept of our people. And when we talk about stories, our people did stories. Why? Because we were an oral visual culture. One of the great stories of this area is the Jabruki story, a three-part story. A story not only understanding where to find water along the coast here, but it was also about law changing, and it was also about hunting the emu itself, and also becoming the glossy ibis. Because Jabruki, when he came here, was hunting these emu, and as he was doing this, it was a long journey, and he rested. But also his nephews were hunting emu, and one of his favourite nephews, Kutuili, sadly crossed paths of Jabruki and ended up hunting the same emu. And the law says that emu belongs to Jabruki, and so therefore he broke the law. But because he was his favourite nephew, Jabruki said, I will forgive you if you just share me the meat of that emu. And as he did that, unknown to his other brothers who caught up with him, they saw the tracks in the ground and they punished their brother by killing him. When Jabruki found this out, he came and gathered the body, and he carried the body from here all the way down to the south at Cape Jervis. And wherever he cried, the water springs arose. But he was so saddened at the loss of his favourite nephew that not only did he put his nephew to rest, he called upon the spirit people to be no part of this land anymore as a human, and became the glossy ibis by covering himself in feathers and then calling to the spirit people. So what does that story tell us? It says, unless we have all of the information, we can make terrible mistakes in life. And so it's really important to get information. And to gather information, we must use great observation eyes, great listening ears, and wonderful doing hands. And to demonstrate that, my Irish-looking coloured friend here is going to come up on the stage. Welcome him up on stage. And this young lady here, who seems very familiar, but we're going to get her up anyway as well. Give her a round of applause as well. So what we're going to do here, folks, is I'm going to give you each a piece of string. Don't worry, it's COVID-free. I've licked each one myself. The idea is we're going to demonstrate the skills of observation and listening and doing. So what's going to happen is I'm going to give you a set of instructions. Your job is to listen to those instructions and then watch or mimic what I do, and therefore you achieve something, and the wonderful audience here will give you a round of applause. Sadly, history tells me if you don't achieve, they will laugh, but they're laughing with you rather than at you. So first off, bring the two ends together, tie a knot. Hopefully your mother has shown you how to tie a knot, because we want a secured big loop of string just like this. And who have we got here?
Dan.
Dan?
Dan, yep.
Dan and Mary. Beautiful. Now, we're going to place the string over her head just like this. I'm going to give the instructions twice the first time because we will be placing the string in our mouth, therefore putting some DNA on it. And so we're going to cross the string in our mouth twice, lift the string over our heads, clap our hands, and then the string will pass through our neck. Thumbs up. Beautiful. All right, you ready? So grab the string, cross it in the mouth once, twice. Yep. Those instructions, Dan. Over the head. That's the way, Mary. Yeah, what's going on there, Mary?
I don't know about mine.
Yeah, and see, if we clap our hands, the string will pass through our neck just like that. But you've got a bit of a tangle happening here. Yeah.
I trapped myself.
All right. Take the string off your neck, put it on the thumbs just like this. We're going to embarrass you 3 times, so that's okay. So put the string on your thumbs just like this, over the back of the head. Hopefully you know your right between your left. Get your right pinky, come over to the left, pull the string back to the right. Get your left pinky, come over to the right, pull the string back to the left. You've got a bit of an Eiffel Tower sort of happening here. I'll go first. The idea is we're going to rapidly pull our hands apart, and as we do so, the string will pass through the neck and to the front of our neck here. And we go like this, and it goes like that. Your turn.
Okay.
Oh, nearly then. And Mary, don't worry if your head falls off, they'll pick it up, Mary. It's all right. I'm sure there's a first aid kit. Oh, close, Mary. Now, look, I reckon you'll get this one. If we hold our fingers apart just like this, bring our fingers together, therefore we cross over the string and we get a nice little loop inside a big loop. Just like this. Yep, more DNA, put it in our mouth, get our right pointing finger, come under the big loop, into the little loop, get the string on the left, wrap it around the finger once, twice, put our finger on our mudla, being our nose, and therefore we can pull the string through our hand just like this. Oh, close there, Mary. Oh, give them a round of applause for trying. Now, not that I'm competitive, but so far it's 3-0-0. Now, if you were to get the first three, we can do these wonderful things where we can wrap the string around each of our fingers. And Dan, I'll get you to pull that real hard down, this one here. Yeah, pull it real hard, both together. Oh, Dan, together. Pull it real hard. Go. There you go. It goes through all the fingers, just like that. Mary, you put your finger up in the air like you don't care. Up like that. We can do this. And we can go E.T., go home. Like that. No round of applause. Give them a round of applause for coming up. Keep the string as my gift to you. So what did we learn from there? Not a great deal from them. But observation was really important. Listening was valuable. Our people knew this. Eyesight was tested to be 4 times greater than the average person. And so therefore, when we use those skills, we can never be stopped from learning. And that's really important because information is about really the ability to own it and share it. And we have this wonderful thing, the Mookandu, as I said, the lightning brain, the computer, but we can type a question in and it gives us information back. But we don't know the validity of that information. We don't own that information, and we don't have all of the information. So therefore, we can't share it. And so when we understand this ability to do this listening and observation, we've become better people for it. And that's why our face tells us where we've been, because it's about not only age, it's about the wisdom that you can see in somebody's face. But when our young people would set on journeys to become these great leaders, as this young person did who wanted to be a great fisherman, went to the great elder, and the great elder said, well, you need to have a sharp eye, a great listening ear. You need to be strong. You need to be a good swimmer. And so this young person said, I can do all of those things. I can be these things and be a great fisherman like my father and brother before me. And when he came back to the great elder said to him that I don't want you to be a great fisherman. I want you to be a great leader. The young person was disappointed by this because they said, but I have done everything that you have asked. And the leader said, you have done everything I've asked. And the things that you did was, he said, well, you had a sharp eye, as I said. And with a sharp eye, you're able to not only see all the things around you, but know that the importance of seeing things is about knowing our past and our present. And like the symbol of the eye does, it talks about that ability to observe all things, to observe the minute changes in the landscapes, the skies, and the waters. He said, you have also become a great listener because you heard all the words of the people and you received all of the knowledge from the people. And therefore, as the symbol of an ear does, it says that we can use this ability to not only listen, but also to share that information. And therefore, by doing so, we become great leaders. And finally, he said, you were a great swimmer, and the symbol of water is not only an importance in the value of caring for the animals that live in them, but also we use the water also to drink. And these are things that are important for our life, but when we understand that water also represents great knowledge, and when we search for great knowledge, we're able to share that great knowledge with all things, not just people, but the animals and the plants and all those things that live upon this land. And so he became a great leader. And these stories are stories that we continue to tell today. This place, as I said, Yada Baldy, the place of sleep, is a 3-part story. It's a story about the migrating birds coming and sleeping overnight, therefore the place of sleep. It also is about the Torrens Island where our people are laid to rest, therefore sleep. But the third part is because before it was a working harbour, the mangroves would leach its toxins in certain conditions and seasons, and therefore the toxins that it would leach into the water would paralyse the fish, and therefore the fish would go to sleep. And so that's what this place was about. It was about this constant understanding of the changes and the connections to the waters, to the animals that lived in these waters. And our people were great observers, and that's why we were able to sustain this place for tens of thousands of years, living in the driest continent, in the driest state, and if you went to Oodnadatta, the driest town. But when you understand that we weren't just a simplistic people, we were people that had sciences, technology, and we developed many tools for things. And I said to you, this place is known as the Gadi Yada, the place of the emu. Well, we had something to enable us to attract the male emu so that we could get the eggs from the nest. And we would have an emu caller. Now, it looks a bit like a yidiki, or some of you may know it as a didgeridoo, a bit of a short one. Maybe you would call it a piccolo type didgeridoo or yidiki. But it's not played by blowing in it like you do a yidiki. It is actually played by banging it like this. That noise was the noise of the emu, and therefore the emu would get up off its nest thinking there's another male in its domain and look to chase it away. And as they did, we would come and take these eggs away. But we fished in different ways. We not only fished from canoes or water vessels, we fished by making fish traps, and we also made nets as well. And so all of these things were a part of this ability to only take what we need, not what we want. And to help with that understanding of that story, our people who were great fishermen one day had caught a lot of fish. And they didn't want to waste this fish because they had too much fish than the people that lived in this area. So what did they do? They lit 3 fires. Why 3 fires? Because one represents cooking, lighting, protection, heat and comfort. 2 actually represents you're in danger, you're in trouble. 3 actually says an invitation to come to a place. And so they lit these 3 fires, and as people came, sadly, more people came than they had fish. So what did they do? Well, they grabbed one of those fish, they wrapped it up in some bark, they sent it off into the ocean, and that fish rounded up more fish, and then they went to the water's edge and gathered up that fish and were able to feed more people. Well, more people came. So what did they do? Well, they grabbed even a larger fish, again wrapping it up into some bark, sending it off into the ocean, and as that fish rounded up more fish, they went to the water's edge and gathered up that fish, therefore feeding more people. Well, what do you think happened? No bastard put that fire out, so bloody more people came. So what did they do? They grabbed even a larger fish, wrapped it up in some bark, sent it off into the ocean, and as they went to the water's edge to gather up that fish that had been come back, they went, "Bacha! Get back, be afraid. Because what was at the water's edge wasn't just any fish, but a shark. So what does that story tell us? Well, it says it's a late afternoon, you've heard lots of people, you're probably falling asleep, so now I've woken you up. Not really. The story says, be careful what you ask for. It may come back and bite you. But it also says we must not take everything because then we leave nothing for tomorrow. And so it was an important story to remind us of this aspect of looking after it and leaving things for tomorrow. But also about the fact is that if we make promises to people and we don't fulfill those promises, somebody will be upset, or in this case, will come back and bite us. So storytelling was a wonderful way and a concept that enabled us to never lose sight of the value of information as we walked these landscapes. They were like memory codes. And when we compare that to another way of sharing stories, is like Chinese whispers. The story changes as it gets to the end. But our stories never changed because we knew the importance of connection and understanding, of great listening and great observation. And these two young men one day talked about their responsibilities and life's journey. And as they discussed, they discovered that one of the brothers was afraid of night. And so would light a fire and lay down beside that fire and make sure that their children and family were close to that fire so that the darkness wouldn't get in their eyes and therefore be frightened by the night. But the other brother loved night because he believed that he could rest his eyes from the day and therefore dream about the wonderful things that he had experienced or wished to journey to. And as they talked about this difference and perspective of darkness, they said that when they would leave this earth, because our people, when they would leave this earth, would be buried facing Kangaroo Island. Why Kangaroo Island? Because Kangaroo Island is called Garda, Garda meaning the lap. It is the transformation place of turning from the physical to the spiritual and therefore coming back to this land. And so when they discussed this, they said, the one that was afraid of the dark said, I don't want to become a part of the landscape where I would be in darkness. And the other brother said to him that if he did go into a place of darkness, he would always look after him. And sure enough, he did end up in a place of darkness. He lived in the deep oceans. But his brother, true to his word, said, I will shine a light upon you. And so Kakiri did shine a light upon Karikari. So who is Karikari? He is the fish. Kakiri is the moon. And as we see at night time, the moon will shine its light across the waters and the fish will follow that light across the waters. So what does that story tell us? It tells us not only about the fish, the moon, and how they work together in harmony, but it also talks about that care and love, not only to look after each other as people, but also when we become connected to the lands and the waters and the skies. And so these things are really important. And when we talk about today, and as we've heard before, this place is a sanctuary for the Yampu, being the dolphin. And this waters here has special connection, not only for the Aboriginal people, but to all the creatures that are upon it. Whether it be the oysters that were in the water, or whether we also have special places along this water where we take ochre from the water to paint on our faces. And recently, I found in the muds of the mangroves lightning glass, where it hit the mud itself and formed into a glass shard. And so it's wonderful that we can come to places and we can share stories, and we can do that not only in the knowledge of science, we can do it in the knowledge of obviously being active upon the land by being contributors to caring, but also we can value it through the stories, the connections that we can make with the young people, and give that element of creating totems and connections to places so that we do continue to look after the place after we leave and return again. So I wanted to say to you that it is wonderful that you have these beautiful gatherings of conferences and workshops to talk about how we should care. It's just sad that there's not all of us that understand this connection and responsibility, and that we take too much and not leave enough. And so I want to leave you some good words of wisdom. And the words of wisdom is about this, where we say, Nara nadlu kumanka yara kumanindi. Nachi yukandaya, nachi yakandaya, padnia do wadu. It's saying, as brothers and sisters, when we walk the lands or swim the waters, we must do so in harmony, do it as brothers and sisters, realize that when we come together, we strengthen our knowledge and our wisdom, and therefore, when you do so, we never say goodbye, we always say, see you later. Because it's not just the physical that we meet, it's also the spiritual. And when we really understand how special South Australia is in bringing not only cultures together, but the connection to the lands and the waters. Because in its flag, the second flag, which not many people have ever realised exists, it has this image where I have this flag. And what it has is an Aboriginal person and a person of Britannia standing on the waters here and also the lands and reaching out as if to be welcomed, is in peace and in coming together, bringing cultures together. And that's what life was about. It was about welcoming people. It was about valuing people. And when we understand that, we can truly be better people for it. So thank you. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for listening. I hope that the stories mean something. I hope you continue to keep your journeys alive as you look after the lands and the waters and the skies that we all need to be people on this land that we share. So nakara, nei chaya, I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.